Somebody asked me the question, can I drive using my US driver's license in the Philippines? And if I can, how much time do I have? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hang loose, stay with me. Foreigners who hold a valid driver's license issued by your home country can drive in the Philippines for up to 90 days after your arrival, provided that your license is in English. If your driver's license is not in English, for example, Vietnam, and it's written in a different language, you should have an official English translation from the local embassy of the issuing country. Okay? If you want to drive and stay longer than 90 days, you must get a local driver's license from the Land Transportation Office. That's called LTO in the Philippines. Now, to get an LTO driver's license, you can either convert your foreign license into a local one, or you can apply for a new one at your nearest LTO licensing center. I got mine in Manila. To drive with a foreign license for 90 days, you have to carry your passport with you together with the foreign license. Having a Filipino driver's license is a valid government ID if you decide to get a local driver's license, and it can also be useful instead of having or carrying a passport. If you have an ACR card, Alien Certificate of Registration, your visa must be valid for at least 1 year, nothing less. Now, many times you're only given an ACR card if you stay longer than 90 days in the Philippines, whether you're a tourist or whatnot. And if they give you that, usually they only give you six months. But at any rate, it cannot be valid for, the visa must be valid for at least 1 year. What is the requirement to convert your foreign license? Let's say you're going to stay in the Philippines. How can you convert your foreign license to a Philippine license? Well, it's nice. I got mine. There's no driving test. No test, actually. You just need to bring with you the original and a photocopy of a valid foreign license. Okay, original and photocopy. And you must, as I mentioned earlier, you must submit an official English translation from a local embassy of the issuing country. For example, if I'm coming from the US and it is not in English, fortunately it is, then I'll have to go to the embassy or consulate where I live. Or not necessarily where I live. For example, I'm in Pennsylvania, I can go to the nearest one. I can go to New York. Again, that's only if your license is not in English. Original and photocopy of visa, your visa, and I'm not talking about credit card, I'm talking about the immigration visa, and stamp or Alien Certificate of Registration or ACR, available at the immigration office if you temporarily reside in the Philippines. Now, a valid passport with your arrival date in the Philippines, that means with a stamp. The medical, and by the way, that passport could be a US passport. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Philippine passport, because foreigners can drive in the Philippines. A medical certificate and drug test result from the LTO. Well, when I took my test, I don't think I took a drug test. In fact, I think they just took my blood pressure. I did an eye test, and then that's it. But from what I read, they require a drug test, but I didn't have to go through that. Fill out a driver's application form, of course, and if you are employed, they will ask for your tax identification number. That's called a TIN, tax identification number. Now, if you need to drive longer than 90 days, but you don't really want to get a local license, you could get an international driver's license, or it's actually called the international driver's permit, if you want to drive longer than 90 days while traveling abroad. Now, it's officially called International Driving Permit, not license, but it's loosely called as International Driver's License, or IDP. When this is accompanied by your valid U.S. driver's license, where you live, your international driving permit will allow you to drive legally in 174 countries that recognizes it. It may also be required or recommended by many rental car agencies. So if you're going to rent a car, sometimes they prefer that you have an international driver's license. International driver's permit is only valid when your home country license is valid. So you have to make sure that your license where you're coming from, US for example, is valid for 1 year. Okay, so that will be valid. Philippines is supposed to let you drive on your international driver's permit for 1 year as long as you don't become a Philippine resident. Let's say after having a driver's license for 180 days, let's say 6 months, then you became a Philippine resident, then you will be required to get a local driver's license. It loses its validity. Now, your international driver's permit will let you drive in any foreign country when accompanied by your U.S. driver's license. So you have to carry both, and you have to carry your passport also. Okay, that's the thing with the passport. You should always carry it with you. You must have a U.S. driver's license that will remain valid for the next 6 months. Okay, for you to get a international driver's permit. Only 2 organizations that I'm aware of issue international driver's license in the United States. It's the AAA, American Automotive Association, or AATA, which is the American Automobile Touring Alliance. I have never worked with with AATA. In fact, I am a member of AAA, but you do not have to be a member to get the international driver's license or permit. The permit can be issued immediately if you go to the office of AAA, or it could take anywhere from 10 to 15 days if you do it by mail or online. The fee for the permit is at least as of 2017 $20, and that's also at AAA. I don't know what AATA charges. And the permit is valid for 1 year. You must obtain the permit. This is important. You must obtain the permit from the same country in which your license was issued. So, when you're already in the Philippines and you decide, oh, I need to get that permit, you may not be able to get it online. Okay, so you better get it before you leave the country. So try to do some planning there. Now, regarding the new driver's permit, if you decide, I won't bother converting it, or you did not have a license in the US, which is unusual. But if you say, I'll just get a new driver's license, well, you need to keep in mind you will have to go 2 times to the LTO, Land Transportation Office. You have to first get a student permit after staying in the Philippines for at least 1 month. Okay, you cannot just land today and then go to the LTO the next week or the next day. You have to stay here at least in the Philippines at least 1 month. This is a relatively fast process from what I heard, but I don't believe that because nothing is fast in the Philippines. Okay, after at least 1 month of getting the student permit, you have to go back to the LTO office. You have to go through the paperwork motion, including medical exam. And I already mentioned to you the kind of medical exam I had to go through, nothing to it. And take the theoretical practical exam. Now that you have to take, I did not take that because I converted mine. And the minimum score, I understand, is 80%, I think. Now the driving test was going to be done using a manual shift car. Ooh, am I lucky? No driving test for me. And the reason I say that is, although I learned how to drive in the Philippines using a manual shift car, and that's what I always drove in the Philippines, I have never driven one since I arrived in the US like 50 years or so ago. Okay. Now, the overall cost, if I remember, in getting a license is 1,500 pesos. That's about $30. Okay. So that's it. That's that's all it takes. You can use your driver's license in the Philippines 90 days from the time you arrive. If you'll stay longer and you want to be able to drive, then get yourself an international driver's permit. And if you don't want to go through the hassle, well, apply as if you're applying for the first time. You start with the learner's permit, and then convert it to a driver's license by taking the test. But why go through that trouble? It's so easy to convert your U.S. driver's license if you already have one in the U.S. But keep in mind, if you will convert, no issue. But if you plan to get the international driver's license, do it before you leave the United States. Okay, go to the AAA office. All right. So I hope you learned something from this video. I appreciate very much the person who asked me that question, because that's an interesting topic to discuss. I got some questions in the past about that too, and so I figured I will make this video. Okay, please do share it with others, and I will appreciate it very much if you subscribe to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.